Good morning, Celeste. How are you doing?
Good morning, I'm doing good. How are you?
Great. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Thank you so much for waking up early this morning. So, Celeste is waking up early while the kids sleep so that we can record her testimony.
Yeah.
I'm in the same situation, but I'm not up quite as early as you because we're in different time zones.
hmm
And I don't remember where you live. I'm sorry about that, but I was saying to my husband last night that I hope she has at least a slight accent and my wishes have been granted. So I love your accent and I can't wait to listen to you share your whole testimony. So if you want to tell us why you have an accent because you're coming from, and you can let us know where you live and just a few details about your family, and then we'll rewind back into your testimony.
I'm in Alabama, but I've always been told that I don't have, I have a very proper accent. I don't know why, but I'm actually, what's her name? You just did a testimony with her, Hannah. Yes, so we're actually connected with her because of your testimony. She's in North Alabama. She's an hour away from me. And so I don't have like the southern drawl that most people have, but yeah, and I have two kids. I have an 8-year-old with autism and a 3.5-year-old little girl. And I've been with my husband for 10 years. And it's just me on my walk right now, but I can see like some seeds that I've been planting. So, like most of the videos that I've watched from you, it's always like the woman kind of goes bizarre at first because they feel led and they're on fire. And I kind of messed up with that in the very beginning. And so I've definitely like calmed down a lot. And I've just noticed since I've calmed down that some seeds are being planted and it's just a slow progress. But yeah, I'm in Alabama and we live on the outskirts of a small town. And we live in an old house. It's like it was made in the 60s and we have a mountain view and everything. The house is falling apart, but I love it. And yeah, that's just kind of where we are right now. I came to tour about 8 months ago. So I'm still new. I'm still very new. And because I'm a mom, I read my Bible every single day, but it's just been a slower process for me, but definitely waking up to everything. But
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. It's there's something, I mean, I'm obviously brand new too, less brand new, but still brand new, but there's something that I get like a goosebumps or some very excited feeling when people are like, "Okay, I just got here. What's going on?"
oh my goodness. You get that zeal and you're just so excited.
Yeah, wonderful. So you said your husband's not on the same path, but is he a believer at all? He
He's
just not okay.
a believer. Um, he just actually, like, I've noticed some seeds being planted. It's just one of those things. He's not against it and he's not, completely for it. But I've just seen some seeds being planted. So I'm not nagging like I was in the very beginning. I'm just, I'm trying to, like what it says, to just model the behavior like, so he can see Yeshua, Jesus in us and our behavior and everything. So that's all we can really do. And
It's
just,
beautiful. I've definitely have friends who were on this walk a long time ago and who nearly destroyed their marriages because they needed their but I think too, Celeste, it probably also depends on the character of the husband and what you're talking about
yeah.
is not always the same. Sometimes they come up against, very difficult situation. Anyway, everything sounds
Yeah.
perfect and yeah, is in control and it's just I imagine a matter of time. So it's the Sabbath today. Are you able to participate in Sabbath in the way that you would like to if he's not 100% on
Uh,
board?
well, actually, he works Saturdays, even though that's something we're working on. But that's something that actually I've just noticed. Actually, last night he had started looking more into it. So I didn't say anything. I'm just gonna like, not gonna nag, but that's something we're working on. So he works on Sabbath, so it's not really an issue. And he respects it. He respects that, I'm gonna make his food the day before, so he'll have some leftovers and things like that. So it's not really an issue. It can be sometimes if, he wants me to go to the store or something, but he respects. He just doesn't like when they don't understand, it can cause some tiffs sometimes, like arguments when they don't understand. So I just kind of don't um push it. But he sees the change and all of that.
So you're living, like, it sounds like you're living a relatively traditional home, like you're homeschooling the kids, he's working. So you've
Yes.
got so much of this is there, and that's
Yes.
super inspiring and beautiful.
Thank you.
Great. So how did you end up here? Where can you rewind a bit and kind of were you raised in the church?
No, not at all. I was definitely a believer, but I was raised by a single mom, and so her beliefs weren't that strong because she wasn't really raised in it. We didn't really go to church. We all believed, but we just didn't read the Bible or anything like that as a child. And then my dad, he wasn't really in our life because um, my mom and my dad didn't, they split up when we were babies. And so he had a lot of issues, and I don't really talk to my dad much. But since coming to all of this, I've kind of made amends. We weren't really on, bad ground or anything, but I definitely got in contact with him. And he he struggled with alcohol and pills and things like that. So I didn't like being around him much. It was just uncomfortable. And so since then, like growing up, I was always just very uncomfortable around anyone who ever got drunk or anything, even if it wasn't like anything bad. It just made me uncomfortable. And so I didn't have that male authority at all in my life. My mom, she was a great mom. She was definitely a great mom, but um, she was a workaholic because she had to be.
Yeah.
She had no choice. She had no help. So she was like, in my mind, she was super mom. So she wasn't able to be there for us as much, but she was a great mom. She just didn't have that foundation at all. She did a little bit, but yeah, she definitely like. I feel like if she were to, she's a truther. So I just wanted to mention that because that's kind of a little bit of where I kind of am coming from as well. But sorry, I'm all over the place. But
Oh, you're doing perfectly. Everything's great.
I have a brother as well. So she raised me and my brother, and we basically grew up in apartments. We didn't have much, but she always provided for us. She was great, and she is great, but she's not on the walk either. But I've noticed some seeds planting I've planted with her as well, because naturally when you're a truther already, you're already like, it just depends. You can go far left or far right. It depends. You can go into the new age, which is what she's in. She's in the new age stuff. But I've just noticed some things with her that she's starting to wake up to some things too. And so, like it's the saying, I'm not going to push it, but
But are there certain things that you've been able to talk to her about? Like, is she curious about? Because
uh,
I've been noticing Celeste in the last few days, because I think I'm a new ager, and a lot of the testimonies I've been doing with people, uh, like many of us were like New Age to Jesus. There was like a group, and there's like a whole New Age to Jesus movement,
yeah,
and a bunch of us just kept going. Like I felt a lot of them stayed and they were happy in the Baptist church or whatever. And then some of us are like, oh wait, we started digging. We can't stop here. There's more to discover. So
yeah,
it probably, I just keep wanting to say it's just a matter of time for everybody. And that's not the case. Not everybody's going to get on this path. But if your mom already has that in her that she desperately wants to know the truth, it's like she's inevitably going to get there. You can't not
yeah.
see it.
It's just one of those things that I can tell it makes her a little bit uncomfortable when I bring it up, so I don't push it, and I always just let her ask the questions. That's how I always do it, and every once in a while I'll like send a message or something, or I'm trying to work through having the confidence to speak out more with my family because I'm always a people pleaser, so it's really hard. And so I'd rather not bring it up at all because I don't want to flatter, you know what I mean? And so I'd rather just not. But I always, if I see something like with the holidays and everything, and with all these things that I'm learning, I make sure to share it. But I'm not the type to just, I'm struggling with being blunt and bold when I'm supposed to be, which I think is normal when you're first starting out. And I think the more that I'm in the word and I have the scriptures ready, because I don't want to debate. I don't want to go back and forth. I just want to be like, here's the verses, here's the scriptures, and move on. So that's just something I've kind of been putting off, that I do feel him putting that on my spirit, like, hey, because I've been having dreams and like him telling me, like, hey, you need to start you need to grow up. So that's what I'm slowly, I just want to be really, I want to have scriptures ready so my emotions don't come up instead, if that makes sense.
You're so wise, Celeste. That's so beautiful, and I admire that so
Thank-
much. And I don't. There is that tendency, and it happens all the time for those of us who don't have a hard time saying what we think. We inevitably burn all of our bridges. So I don't think that it's a bad thing. I mean, I'm obviously, if you're being told by the Holy Spirit one thing, that is what it is, obviously. But the moving slow and steady, I just have not had it in me, and it's something that is actually coming for me with time. It's kind of like, like there's somewhere that maybe some of us need to ramp it up a bit and some of us need to tune it down a bit and find like a middle ground.
I actually talked about this in my sister's group, Tracy and Nicole. Um, we were talking about that, and I can't remember what I said. I was watching, I think it was a video with Melissa. I was watching, Melissa Smith. And someone had asked a question or said something like, well, I'm taking things slowly. And she said something that made so much sense. When you take things slow, that gives the devil time to come in and justify things. And so, like, if I, even though, like, it's just something that I know I need to work on, instead of like kind of just, validating, oh, I have an excuse for that. And that it makes sense, because the more you push something off, the more you keep excusing not doing it. So that really opened my eyes. And so I've just really felt the urge to just grow up and start speaking on things. But I just want to be in the word before I do that. I'm in the word every day, but I want to meditate on like what to say so my emotions don't lead me instead of the scriptures. Because a lot of times that happens where I just get it's it almost like pride comes in, pride will come in and you're just like, well, it's because of this and I'm right, instead of just being, this is what the scripture says, I don't care what I say.
It's
Like,
funny, Celeste, because you're naming, like I heard you say it a few times of like not wanting to be emotional about it, which I think is again super wise. And then
yeah,
I think of like just the male, like masculine and feminine characteristics, and like we are emotional, and I think probably that's one reason. I'm not going to say we're not supposed to teach or talk about it, obviously.
yeah,
But I think it's one reason why men traditionally and naturally would be the ones speaking, because they can more, like, they don't have to fight so hard against not getting emotional about it because they
yeah.
do it
They're
more.
able to stay logical,
Yeah.
doing, little like debates and things. And but with women, it's like we just get so, we get that fire. And I just noticed, at least with in my house, if I were to bring up a subject, and I know it's right, following Torah, we know that's right. But if I don't have the scriptures ready, then I'll just be like coming from my emotions and just get so mad, like, why aren't you listening to me?
Oh,
And it's
girl, I did it. I blew up an entire group of friends. If I just, I mean, I won't take responsibility for it. It was absolutely demonic, but
yeah,
I've been able to do exactly what you're working on now. I just couldn't. I was surrounded by Christians and I was seeing this stuff, and I was like I started to get a little bit nervous and panicky for them because I saw they were living in perpetual sin and they didn't really want to get out of it. And like I knew
yes,
concepts in the Bible, but I didn't I think what you're doing is amazing, and in the long run, and like Melissa said, not taking too much time, but in the long run, I think you're being so wise, and I think it's going to be of benefit for way more people in this way than if you start throwing things at the people.
yeah.
Yeah.
And one of those things is like what I think of taking your time on, like what you should take your time on and what you shouldn't, is, when you read the Torah and it just blatantly tells you that you should wear tassels, or I don't like to say surface level, but like the things that don't require, of course you need to know the spiritual side to it, but the things that you just do because he commands you to do. And then there's the things that take your whole lifetime, which is the fruits of the spirit and all those things that you have to take your time on. You have to spend the rest of your life. But like with me, I kept pushing off the tassels and what else? There was another thing that, oh, like the clothes and all those things. And I've noticed the more I push it off, I keep just pushing it and validating. And it's like when you first come in, you have that zeal, and that's when all these things usually, like some people just throw their clothes out and all those things. They just get that out of the way, and then they spend the rest of your life really working on the spirit part of it, if that
That's
makes.
so beautiful. Yeah, that's well said. I did a testimony. I'll put it up. The next one I will put up with Lindsay Griffin. I don't know if you have heard Lindsay
Oh,
Griffin.
is that the last one that you just uploaded?
No,
No.
so Lindsay is the wife of Sean Griffin. They have a ministry called Kingdom in Context, which is it's one of the biggest Torah ministries. It's where my husband and I met. Anyway, she's been on this path for at least 10 years now. Um, she said it was so dead on, that in the Torah walk, the milk is the Sabbath and the
Mm-hmm.
feast and the clean eating. That's the milk of it. And then
Yeah.
the meat of it is all the stuff you're naming. How do you treat the people around you? The fruits of the spirit. That's the meat for us. It's kind of like almost seems like the opposite. The difficult thing for us to do when we come into the knowledge of all of this is all of that stuff. Whereas what you're talking about, what we wear, or yeah. Oh gosh, that's so perfect. Thank you for bringing
So
it that way.
yeah, you have to look at the inside, but not, I mean, some people would just do the surface level and they stop there. And like, the people that follow Torah, and they're just so hateful and prideful, and I don't know, but I think we've all met a lot of those people. Like I was in a couple groups where like they weren't hateful to me. I just saw it and I'm just like, I don't want to be here. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so you come back to the whole point in following this is to follow our Messiah. So if we get to going and hating on everybody, we're doing the exact opposite. And I say that you might as well go back to church and sit there on a Sunday and listen to what the pastor's saying, rather than know all of this stuff
And
and a total monster with everyone around you.
yeah, because it's your love of the Messiah that brought you to this. It's His grace that brought you to this. And it's not the head knowledge, because we're all just dirt when we came to all of this. And so, yeah, that's like a big thing for me is focusing on the spirit part of it. But yeah, there's like still things I need to focus on. And because what's funny is I had to actually get rid of a lot of my clothes because I had a fiberglass incident with my mattress. And I just feel like that was him way of being like, girl, get your stuff together, because I kept pushing. Well, actually, I'm trying to remember now. I will go back through this because when we go through like the
Yeah, can you go back kind of more to you were talking, sorry, we're not a match. We are and are not, because I have ADHD and I will derail you left, right, and center. So I'm supposed to help you stay on focus.
don't worry.
Go back to, you were saying that your mom was a little bit new age and you were raised by a single mom and you weren't raised in the church, but you were always a believer. So I've been also noticing during these testimonies that around the age of 12, like pre-adolescence, is when people get a moment of like either going toward God or going toward what they think is God. So I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah, my mom, like, she is a truther, but I wasn't raised as much that way. That's more of a recent thing, probably since I was in my teens. So I'm 28 now. So for like the last 10 years or so, 10, 15 years. So I wasn't raised that way, but I'm just trying to think. She didn't teach us much about the Bible at all, but I remember having like I would hoard these Bibles that I would find, and I would hide them. And even though I didn't know much about it, but I know this is wrong, but like I remember stealing my aunt's like teen Bible because I didn't have access. Like, not that they kept it from me. I just like it's something that I just did. And I remember I would hide these Bibles and I would try to open them and read them as a little girl, but I didn't know what I was doing. And my dad, even though I wasn't close to him, he gave me a Bible and kept it under my pillow every single day. And I do remember when I was around 12, like nothing big really happened, but I just remember I started to pursue him a little bit. And I remember I wrote this poem prayer type thing and I put it above my bed. I guess for comfort because I really didn't know what I was doing. And now when I think back to the prayer, don't ask me to recite it because I just remember some things. It was very generic, but it was coming from mind of a 12-year-old, you know. And so I recited that prayer every day for like 15 years. Like that was because, so part of my testimony is I had OCD since I was a little kid. And so I felt like I had to do things. Do you know what OCD is? Okay. So I just felt like I had to do these things in order to like, I don't even know what my mindset was, but it's like I have to say this specific prayer like every time. So it was very not genuine, if that makes sense. And when I would pray, even as a little girl, it's like that feeling of I have got to say this exact thing and I have cannot leave anyone out or they could die. Like that was my mindset. So even as a kid, I had really bad OCD and really bad anxiety. Like as long as I could remember, probably since I was like 3. And but yeah, I'm trying to remember because I don't really have notes. I have some like the consequence of if that's the right word of events that led to like the past year to Torah, but I'm trying to like remember in my childhood. I do remember my grandma, she was a little bit religious, I guess you would say. And I do remember watching that movie. You probably know what I'm talking about with the crucifixion, the
The, Pa-
scary,
the
the,
Passion of the Christ.
maybe it's the scary one with the baby. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I saw it for the first time just this past December with my husband's family and with my kids and that part too. And my son was like, he's like, Satan looks like a woman. We were all like, what's going on? Yeah, it's very scary and it's very Catholic.
Yes. And well, I didn't know that at the time, but I saw that when I was little, and that definitely put fear in me. I was like, oh my goodness. But I remember she showed me that. So I don't have much foundation at all, but I did pray. Like I prayed that prayer and I prayed a lot when I would go through anxiety and everything and my OCD and all of that. But um, but yeah, that was like um I know that having a lack of the male authority too affected some things as it usually does, like with relationships and stuff. I was never a rebellious child at all. I was very quiet. I was very well, no, okay. At home, I was normal, you know, but how I perceive other people perceived me, I was very quiet. Actually, people in school thought there was something wrong with me because I was so timid and quiet. And unless you were, you know, close to me, but that's just how I was. I don't know why because my parents aren't like that, but um, I guess I'll get to this eventually, but I will just say, I know for a fact that I'm high functioning autistic. I just know. And I also have 2 children with autism, and it's on my dad's side as well, which isn't surprising because I can notice some things. But I do think that played a role a lot with the OCD, the anxiety, and had a bunch of other things. And I know that's like a trend right now,
But
but
yeah, but generationally, like just in our time, these are not things that were really diagnosed as much. Now
no,
you've had your kids diagnosed. You know, I just flippantly
yeah,
say, oh, I'm ADHD. I don't have a diagnosis, but
yeah,
it
it's just
doesn't matter
no,
anymore. Like their neurodivergence is like it's a funny term because everybody is a little bit neurodivergent, you know.
exactly. Some people just have more symptoms than others, you know. Like my son, I would say he's like level two. He's not high functioning and he's not, severe. But he, like, usually how they diagnose autism is you have all these symptoms all together, but then there's people that have some of the symptoms, but not the others. So it's like we're all just on the spectrum. That's just how I think of it as well. So ADHD is like, it's like a symptom, but it doesn't mean you're autistic. It just means, we all have different brains, and we can say it's the food, or I don't know. I haven't looked much into it, but I just know he doesn't make mistakes. So that's all that I know. But I know that I was a little bit different because of that. But I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it's one of those things where I think he can afflict us with things that may have been something that we did or a generational thing, but there's good that comes out of it at the same time.
Amen.
Like I think she had said that she thought she could have Asperger's, but that might have played a role in how she is so zealous in the way and how her memory is so good. It's like there's these things that comes out of it, and the afflictions can be good for us. It's a good thing because I have a very, very strong sense of right and wrong, and I think that's because of the autism and the OCD. So you can pull good things and bad things out of it. It's just how you view it, I guess.
That's it again. I think it's like in some ways labels are necessary in order to receive certain kinds of help, or like if a child's going to school and they need extra time with
Yeah,
exams, that kind of stuff. But for all of us as adults, sometimes the labels matter a little bit less in just like understanding that we're all different and we have pros and cons with our own God-given personalities, right? So
yeah, I
absolutely. I actually, it's a weird thing to say, but I assume many of the people around me are autistic based on their amazing, uncanny ability to memorize, for example, verses from the Bible. Like,
yeah,
I often ask my husband, I'm like, are you like, there's just these tendencies that people have that are so incredible that
yeah,
it's like, do we have to call it autism, or can it just be the fact that I don't know, it doesn't matter. But what you're saying is that there, for various reasons in school, you were a little bit more introverted and shy, and now you're seeing as an adult how that's all good. It came out
yeah.
as the best. Yeah.
And so, like the things that I had were that would just weren't helpful at all. Like because there's I guess you can get some good things out of autism and some bad things. And so for me, I was bad at math. I was not good at math. A lot of high function people are good at it. I wasn't, but I could go on a computer and do those number puzzles within like 15 seconds where you like have to organize it. So I'm very good with number patterns and stuff, but it's like things that didn't help me in school. And like in my brain, it's just, I don't even know how to explain it because it's not as bad now. I don't want to say bad, but I would just letters and numbers in my brain. Like you have to have, like, I don't like to say you have to have autism, but it's just, there's just things that went on in my brain with numbers and letters that I couldn't get my mom to understand. Like I would just, I think it was like a sensory thing because I don't know. That's just a whole thing. But I just had a thing with numbers and letters in my brain that I would just arrange them differently in my brain because of the way they sounded when I would. I don't know. It makes me sound crazy. I don't know how to
Well, you
explain
don't
it.
sound crazy at all, but you're not and it's
It's hard to explain because it doesn't make sense. It's not logical, but that's just something that you deal with. And I don't really deal with it as much anymore. If I do, it's like it just doesn't bother me. It's just what it is. But yeah, sorry, I have like a list right here. I was trying to
yeah, what do you go to your list? That sounds great.
um see like right now, I don't have an issue with like eye contact, but in person, I never barely ever look my husband in the eyes. Like and that's when I first brought that up. I was like, "Do you think I could be autistic?" And he was like, "Look at me in the eyes right now." And I was like, "No, I don't want to." He's like, and then he just like looked at me like and then also he says I do the same, which since I've noticed it now, I don't do it as much. But have you noticed that with autistic people, they put on a fake voice that's almost like very routine, like they planned it? And I don't know how to explain it. I think with the Asperger's, you can notice it a little bit. And so he says you do that with like certain people, I guess when you're super nervous. But then with me, you talk so monotone, if that's a word, like you have no emotion. And then those are a couple of things that he said that I did. And but yeah, I have a whole list, but I don't have to go over.
No, go to your testimony list. We'll talk.
Well, I'm gonna like say like the things that I struggled with, I guess. Like I had really bad social cues, if that's the word, and I would always I like looked back at my friends, and not that they weren't genuine friends, but I noticed that I was never myself at all. It's like I morphed myself to because I didn't know how to be myself. So that's like another sign that there's a word for it. Um I just became a mirror of them instead of being genuine. And so it's just like I never like I did have some really good friends, but I just never connected as much because of that. And so but yeah, another thing is I would eat the same foods every single day, and I still do today. I don't like change. I don't like anything throwing me off. And so I liked reassurance a lot with the OCD. That's like, I mean, if you know what OCD is, like it's like constant reassurance. And so that's what I've been tested with the most is my faith, because that's trusting in something that you can't always be assured of. So that was my biggest test. But yeah, growing up, I had severe anxiety. Like now, like I still struggle a little bit, but it was severe. It would just took over my entire life for 26 years, I guess. But I had severe sleep anxiety, like to the point that like I would just be so happy about whenever I would just finally because in that time I didn't know that we don't actually go to heaven, but I would just daydream about like when this could finally be over and I can be in heaven, don't have to worry about sleep. It just sounds so silly, but it took over my entire life. I had such anxiety when it came to sleep. It took over my entire life and it was so bad, but and I just struggled with intrusive thoughts all the time, even as a little kid. And and it's so sad because I was so innocent, but because of the intrusive thoughts, it made me just feel like a disgusting person. And
Do you attribute intrusive thoughts to demonic activity?
um, it very well could be. I know it's common with OCD, but I think that just because you have autism doesn't mean you'll have it. So I don't know. I know that Satan can, use your issues and latch on and, do something with that. But definitely, I mean, yeah, it's not of y'all. So the
So are you
thoughts,
feeling, is all of this
well,
present now?
I still struggle with it just like anybody struggles with just having bad thoughts, but it's not, I don't feel in bondage to it like I did before. I don't know. I was trying to think earlier of how to explain it. It's kind of like when you're an alcoholic and you're free of you're able to fight it and you're free of the addiction, but it's still kind of there. But because of, you know, being rooted in him now, you're able to fight it.
Sure, and
So
you can recognize
spiral.
what it is, right? You can recognize that it doesn't.
Not spiral like I used to. And I just feel so much peace now. And, but yeah, um, I'm just trying to think. I struggled with that and struggled with that my whole life. It was awful, but it doesn't mean I didn't have a good life. It's just, it was just something that was always there in the background that never went away. I remember it developed into like in school, my anxiety got so bad that like I was scared I'd throw up or burp or something in the classroom, and to the point that I'd almost pass out. I remember I failed a history class. It was one of those the classes you could ever have. It's just such an easy class, but I failed it because I could not think. It was when it first started happening, and I just could not think, and I would just sit there and shake and shake. And I was like, why am I like this? I didn't know I had OCD. I didn't know I had OCD, or if that's what it's called. And I kind of hate that I labeled it, but at the same time, you know, um, but I didn't even know I had that until like 4 years ago. So I went most of my life thinking that, I don't know, that something was just wrong with
I
me. And
guess I guess that is why labels can be helpful as adults. You know, I was saying as kids they're helpful for XYZ reasons, but then for people who felt stupid their whole life, for
yeah,
example, like I have a problem with numbers as well, and I'm pretty sure that I have dyslexia, but with numbers, and I was never diagnosed as a kid. I just failed everything all the time and I felt stupid and I got yelled at. So if I could get a diagnosis, I'd be like, no, there's
you just
actually something not functioning.
needed help. It helps in some sense, but it also makes things worse because you get in your head thinking, "Oh, I can't ever change now
Yeah,
because."
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
But I just think of it as, there's good that comes out of it, and I don't need to change it. And if he wants to, then that's great. I just don't hold myself down thinking about it anymore. I do struggle sometimes, but I'm able to come out of it. But
Great.
yeah, um, I guess where do you want me to start? Just in the sense of like what led me to Torah. Um,
Sure. I guess for me,
oh,
I'd be curious to just before Torah because it's rare to just go from like nothing to Torah. Like for sure you were somewhere with Jesus and the
yeah. I just know that I did pray all the time. I did go through a relationship. I went through a couple, like I wasn't rebellious or anything like that. I was very innocent minded, even though I was tormented by these horrible intrusive thoughts. And I didn't view myself as innocent, but I was. Looking back, I was. And because of the lack of the male figure in my life, of course, I went searching elsewhere. And that's kind of representation of, God, y'all. Like he's supposed to be that male authority too. And that's what I should have been searching for too, instead. But yeah, I did get into a relationship, and it just it was kind of traumatizing, and it was all because I just struggled with saying no because I wanted attention so badly. So I just let this person just like be awful to me. And it was my first relationship, and I was very innocent. And it was just, I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it just was a very manipulative. And this person, this guy, he had his own issues as well because he had some things happen to him. So back then, with the more of immature mindset, I villainized a lot of people, or no, not a lot of people, but I villainized him. And now that I'm grown up, I'm like, I see that we all have our own issues. But yeah, there was just a circumstance where, it was just a traumatizing um, thing that happened. And it was all because I struggled with saying no. And because I wanted attention so badly. And so, but yeah, that happened. And then, you know, there was rumors going around school and everybody was making jokes, and it was just awful because I wouldn't tell anyone. So everybody just looked at me badly. So that was kind of an awful time, and I didn't tell anyone. And I remember for months, I would like pray and like ask for forgiveness because like I did something wrong. Like this was awful. Like I'm gonna be condemned. Like it was just horrible. And I would just cry and like pray for forgiveness and not realizing like, I wouldn't say I was, the victim basically. And so yeah, that there's a couple things like that happened. Nothing, it wasn't anything. It sounds a lot worse than it was, but it was still traumatizing to me being so innocent. And there was a couple incidents of things like that happened all because of that lack of male authority or love and protectiveness. Like I remember I would just daydream about having like a dad to hold my hand across the street or be, you know, protective. And it's not that my dad didn't try, he did, but I just didn't want to be around him because he was never sober. So it didn't, I just didn't want to be around him. So, but yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail because it's kind of like my mom's story, but he was very abusive in a sense. And he traumatized her basically. And so, and I didn't even realize that. until a few years ago. And so she kind of kept that from us. And so like she actually had to, I don't want to spill the beans too much, but she had to move towns and all these things. So she has her own issues, and I think that affected also how she raised us and all of that. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. She got married a few times, so we had, I think she got married twice. So I had two stepdads, but that's over the span of like 15 years. So it's not like she had a bunch of relationships or anything. And she did what she could. She needed help with she struggled a lot with having to provide for us, and she just wanted us to have a family. You know, she tried very hard, and she was a great mom, but she still is. But I did get a little bit of a taste of what it's like to have a male authority a little bit, but and they weren't bad situations or anything, not really. But yeah, so I think just and also I feel like I'm very it doesn't seem like it because I know I sound really quiet and timid, but I can be a loudmouth really bad. Like that's something I struggle with, and I think it's because of my mom just having to take care of us and be in charge. And I think that I'm not it's hard for me to let my husband lead, if that makes sense. Like with a lot of things. And so
It
that's
makes,
something.
I mean, it makes perfect sense because you didn't have that. I think, so I'm a single mom. I
Mhm.
my kids are their father's very present. They're with their dad and with me 50% of the time. They don't have an absence of a man. But I have noticed that for single moms, because we have to do everything, now I'm remarried, but my husband doesn't live with me yet. We
Yeah.
have to do everything. So single moms end up taking on a bunch of male characteristic traits. Like, yeah, we have to take out the garbage, but we have to do everything. We have to do both sides of the parenting. So, um,
Yeah. And it's not natural for a woman to have to do that. It's very, 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 very hard. And my mom struggled a lot. And I just remember her being on the phone begging um, my dad just for help and didn't um, didn't care. And she struggled a lot. But she took care of us. She always has, she still does. And so, yeah.
so she did the best that she could. She held up that other side the way that she could, but you still clearly
It's
have in your mind the whole authority thing was kind of the male authority thing was to the side. So now you're an adult, you're a mom, you're a wife, and but I think you sound like you're doing a great job, Celeste. Even when you're talking about being on this path, you're leaving the space for, like I've known women in your position who berate their husbands for X, Y, they've discovered this thing and then they can't let him lead and they're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong, so you're doing great.
thank you. I did that for months and still sometimes, but I've learned to just bite my tongue because it's more important how your conduct is and how he is perceiving you because you're claiming to follow him. So if you come off as he's not going to believe that his spirit is in you, if or you're doing the right thing, you're on the right path. If you're just like and going crazy, and
Well said.
um I was also going to mention, so my mom, she didn't get into like the new age stuff until more recently, probably like the last 10 years or so. But my family, they were always into ghost hunting and Ouija board, which is, I mean, honestly, I think that's normal. I don't know. Maybe it's not, but
No, I
uh,
don't know what it is. The only other person I know, I don't know if you watched the testimony that I recorded with Jamie, but she was too. She was a ghost hunter. I'm
oh
like,
yeah, that's the
who
one.
are these people? Yeah.
I was going through your testimonies because I knew I was gonna be on here. It's like I want to see like, but anyways, yeah, that and I also remember she got a witch book. Now I'm not saying that she practiced that really or anything, but I remember that, and I know that throughout my family, like my grandma, my aunt, and me, we all had experiences. We all saw this hat man that's very common like a tall man with a raincoat and a black hat. We all saw that. And actually, my aunt was like tormented by that thing. She had paralysis. She always had paralysis. My mom had paralysis. I never had that because I prayed. I was like, I don't want that. I actually never slept on my back my entire life because of that. I was so fearful. But I think it could have something to do with my grandma. She went to a witch and she did a love spell for the man that's this is confusing, but my mom and my aunt have one father, and then there's another aunt and uncle that have a different father. So my grandma was married twice. So with the second, she did a love spell type thing. And I believe that could have something to do with it, but also I'm just now realizing that no, it didn't because they were experiencing those things before that, but that didn't help. And I don't want to say too much because all I can say is that when she did that love spell, the children that she had with them, which I love them, I don't want to say anything, but it just did not turn out very well. They are just in deep bondage and just not living the greatest life compared to, I don't want to compare, but when my mom and my aunt, obviously they're not on the path, but you can just see the difference in the results of whatever she did, which I don't know much about it. But I do believe that, that can play a toll on the rest of the family when you mess with stuff like that. And so, yeah, I had a couple experiences like when I was 3. I remember I was sitting on the couch, and I remember even as 3, I had sleep anxiety so bad. I remember I was just sitting up on the couch, probably crying or something. I don't know. And my mom was sleeping. We were just sleeping on the couch. I don't remember why. And there's a knock on the door in the middle of the night because I was already awake. And I looked, and I remember seeing a figure. I guess there was a window on the door outside, and then suddenly it like appeared on the inside right there. And I just remember saying ghost, and my mom freaked out,
Mm.
and she like picked me up. And when she picked me up, the cup flew off the table, and so she just went running. So I had that experience. I was never like demonized or any like I was never I didn't experience paralysis or anything like that. I guess mine was just the OCD. Like that's what I was being like tormented by. I remember also sitting down in a bathtub when I was very little, like 4 or 5, maybe 6. And I sat down and I saw a little boy in the bathtub with blonde hair and blue eyes, and he had scratches all over his body, like scars and scratches all over his body. And I got up and I ran. I was naked. I ran. And my mom had family in the living room. I don't remember anything else, but I mean, I've had some experiences, and I think those doors could have been opened because of the things that my family messed with, which is common, I guess. That's just how it happens. The doors get opened and you are led to having those kind of experiences. But yeah.
So where, if you can jump forward a little bit more to adult life, and thank you so much for sharing all this stuff about your childhood. It's so cool and so interesting to get a glimpse and to just hear what that must have been like. And you're obviously in a place where you're more free from all of this. So what was like, is there a moment where you started walking even before 8 months ago? Like when did you start
Yeah.
the Bible or
I don't know that I'm really bad about timelines, but I don't know if it was like a year before I came to everything. There was just a time where I think what kind of sparked the curiosity of wanting to go more into the Bible and everything and who God is and everything was my husband actually. And he had said he just watched a video of this preacher that apparently had died and come back to life. Now, obviously, that could be a fake video. I don't know. But he had just said, the preacher said that, God told him it's about his ways and that ended him up in hell. It was his ways, his ways. He just kept saying that. And that just kept sticking with me, his ways. Like, what does that mean, his ways? I didn't know what the Torah was. I didn't know any of that. And so that kind of instilled fear in me a little bit. And so I started just searching more, and it was very surface level because I would not that I didn't identify as a Christian, because I just wasn't raised in church, never went to church. So I started and I've never actually to this day really gone to church, even to this day. But I ordered one of those Bibles. I forgot what it's called. It's called She Bibles or something like that. I don't know. It basically, but it's one of those the Bibles that dumb it down so much, but like it wouldn't be good to read, but it still opened that door for me, you know. And I started reading that, and of course, I started in the Gospels instead of where you're supposed to start in the beginning, because it's what everyone tells you to do. And I just started reading that, and I started learning more about Jesus, Yeshua, Yahusha. I remember all my life I'd never been able to listen to Christian music because my OCD would go crazy. It would say, like, I just remember hearing, "You're not worthy. You can't listen to this. You can't listen to this. You are not worthy. Look at all this stuff that you've done." Like that would just constantly go in my mind, and I would just literally like I have to turn it off. But I started forcing myself to listen to it, and I would literally close my eyes and squeeze them and just yell out the words because I had to drown out the
Girl,
thought.
you were casting demons out. I'm not like a big deliverance person and I don't know a lot about it, but I when you use the term intrusive thoughts, that's how I don't even know what that term means, but that's how I describe when the enemy's whispering in my ear, which still happens, but I know the quality between when I hear from the Holy Spirit and when it's intrusive thoughts. And if you couldn't listen to praise music,
Mhm.
demons are riled up in you. If you did what you did, you were casting demons out.
Yeah, and I had to scream them out in order to cancel out thought in my head. And I had like, because sometimes, and I catch myself sometimes, but not really. I'll just catch myself thinking too much while I'm trying to praise. Does that make sense? Like while I'm trying to listen to music, I'm like thinking too much, and I just have to like literally yell the words out and actually be present. And a lot of times I've noticed, which I watched a video about it. This guy was saying, you know, all these worship music is they like they don't sing to him, they sing about him, and that's something that stayed with me. So like when I sing, whenever I'm just singing along to stuff, I sing to him instead of singing about him, and just like act he's right, and that helps a lot too. But yeah, I remember I started doing that. I started listening to music. I just started watching these sermons. Like it was all very like surface level, but I was trying. And I got an OCD workbook type of thing. I started looking into my mental health problems, and it did help a lot. But what's funny is I made a video on this. The things they teach you in these workbooks is like the same thing that he would teach you. It's like I don't know how to explain it. It's just in a worldly view, like denying your feelings and what else? Hold on, I have a list right here because I was like, I know I'm gonna forget to tell her. Where is it? Not solving it, because with OCD you're always wanting to try and fix the thoughts. Like, why did I think that? I gotta it's hard to explain. But anyways, like not solving it. So basically having faith and trust. It's and then selflessness, because a lot of therapists will say if you're depressed, do things for other people. That literally will cure you. I'm telling you, because you can idolize your feelings. And once you stop doing that, it's like it is all you can see clear again. Like we got to be careful about idolizing ourselves and our feelings, and it's just so humbling and helpful to know that that's wrong, and that just helps me. Like I shouldn't do that. Not that our feelings don't matter, but we can definitely put that above God's feelings, and that's where you need to like draw the line. But there's that one scripture that helped me a little bit, the one that says he tests the mind and your heart. And for some reason, and he have it written down here. Search the mind, search wait. He searches the heart and the mind to reward according to their deeds. And that doesn't seem like it would relate. But for me, knowing that he could be testing my mind and I'm failing, like I hated that. So I just made it simple. It's like, okay, he could be testing my mind right now and I don't want to fail. So that's what helped me so much when I started coming out of this. But really, what just helped me with my OCD were the same things. Yes, I learned some of it from the OCD book, but I feel like he can speak through things. Okay, that's all I know. I wasn't yet to the Bible, but the things I learned from the workbook is the same things that the Bible teaches you. So it was him. It was just in a more worldly mindset, I guess. I don't know, but yeah. I started doing that, and I started to, because I was doing this OCD work type of things, trying to help my mental health. I started going to meditations a little bit, and I'm still kind of confused about that, but I know that you went down that path. You were really deep into that stuff, right? The new age
Oh
stuff.
yeah, we can definitely talk one-on-one about that for sure. And it's not Eastern meditation isn't for us.
Yeah. And so I just started doing that. And I remember like I would do that at night when the kids were asleep, and I would sit cross-legged and watch these Christian meditations. And I would just get this scary, creepy feeling that would come over me. But I'm like, but it feels so good to be present. Like what? How could that be wrong? Like that's the mindset, but it wasn't. It's just, yeah. Anyways, I started going down that path a little bit, and I started reading The Power of Now, or is that what it's called? You probably know what I'm talking about. I started reading that, and I thought, and I was being torn. I started to be torn from, am I supposed to read the Bible, or am I supposed to do this stuff because this seems right, but this I don't know about. So I was just like being torn, and that's when I started to, well, no, I had a dream one night after, I think it was after I meditated that night, and I had a dream. And you know when you see those cartoons with like a little cloud above and then like a scene like that, I had a dream that I saw a man. It would, I think he was just like a messenger, and I was like crying and like telling them all my problems. And I had never like read. This was before, I think this was even before all of this. Well, see, I'm telling you, I get the timelines messed up. I'm sorry. This was probably right before, because I was already in meditation a little bit before going into the Christianity part, but I struggled with it still. I was going back and forth through the whole process. Sorry if that's confusing, but I had this dream before I started to really kind of pursue the Bible. So it was probably before my husband had mentioned that stuff and started me on that path. And I just had a dream that I didn't know scripture or anything, and it kind of like it's not the way that I speak, but he had just said, he said, put your burdens on his shoulders and trust in him and believe in him. That's all I remember. And I woke up and was like, I never had a dream like that before. And like nothing, and that was always in the back of my mind, and that stayed with me, and it comforted me a lot. And I think that it just makes sense because I was starting to pursue him, so he was like reaching out to me back, because you have to pursue him first, it seems like, and then he'll reach and he'll show you. But anyways, um sorry, I kind of went. So it was when I was struggling with like the new age and Christianity. And I just, one day I woke up and I had this overwhelming sense of urgency I cannot explain. It was just, and I thought it was my OCD, but no, because demons aren't going to try to get you to pursue God. Like that wasn't the OCD. And it was just overwhelming. Like I had to know there's something I'm missing. It was just an urgency. And I still have that to this day. And I do wonder if it's like the prophecies that talks about like you're going to wake up before the end times, before he comes back. And I just started getting that overwhelming sense of urgency. And I started praying like crazy and like saying, no, reveal yourself to me. I want to know you. I want to know you. I have to know you. I have to know this. And I remember around that time, I realized I was high functioning autistic. I started to spiral. And those thoughts came back in my mind as of like, you're autistic. You're not going to be able to connect with them emotionally. You're not even going to be able to understand the Bible, because I take everything very literally. And I have very comprehension skills I struggle with. Okay. My son has a preschool thinking skills workbook. And I look at that and I'm like, and that's for pre-K. So I just struggle with some things, and I take things very literally. And I was just condemning myself, and I was like, I'm not going to be able to connect with him. And I was just so upset. I'm not going to be able to know the truth. And anyways, but So, and I just remember making like a deal with him and saying, because I started rebuking, I didn't know what rebuking meant, but I started saying, no, I'm not going to listen to those thoughts. I'm not. And I said, you know what? I prayed and I said, I don't know how to word this right, but basically said, if you will just show the truth to me, I will learn the entire Bible. I will learn more than I ever thought I could even learn. If you please will just reveal it to me, please. I was just begging, like, I will accomplish more than I ever thought I could. I will not let this autism hold me back. I will be a testimony for you that's not going to hold anyone back just because someone could have autism. And I also started struggling with like my son having autism. Is that going to affect anything? And you know what? I think it's a beautiful thing if someone can have a severe disability and be able to share the gospel. And that's what my son is going to be able to do. Even though he has like limited vocabulary, he'll be able to do that. And I think that's beautiful. But anyways, I was just praying like crazy. And I remember this is random and might not be anything, but I remember I got in the car because I was constantly praying all the time and I just needed to know. And I got in the car and I had to drive to the dollar store. And I walked out the dollar store and there's these people having this conversation. And the second I opened the door, I thought she was talking to me because it was so loud. And she's across the parking lot and she said, "Do you believe in divine intervention?" And she said it so loud and I was like, I was about to say, yeah, but she wasn't talking to me. But they were just talking about something random. They were talking about a car wreck he almost had and he didn't die because God intervened. That's what they were talking about, which is funny because it was kind of like what was happening to me because I could have been on the road to death, right? That night, I think it was that night. I before I went to bed, I prayed, I prayed, I prayed. It's like, please show me, and I opened the Bible and I opened up to Ecclesiastes. Never heard of that in my life. I don't know what that is. And I remember I opened up to the last paragraph where it talks about the whole purpose of mankind is to follow his law. Like it was right there. He told me. I didn't have anyone tell me to follow Torah. Nobody told me to follow Torah. I didn't know what the law was, but I was like, and I went, and it's like everything started connecting, all the dots, because I knew that I was supposed to follow something. And honestly, I like rules, honestly. But anyways, that's just how I am. I knew I was supposed to follow something because I didn't know how to pursue him. But yeah, that's just that's how it happened. And that's how I didn't have anyone tell me to follow Torah. I just opened the Bible and he told me. And so I started pursuing the Torah. But I will say I kind of went down a path of head knowledge, which I think we all do probably. But in the beginning, I had such a strong relationship with them because when you come to them as a child, it's like you're just like begging for attention. You're like, please show me. I don't know anything. And then I started watching. Do you know what Truth Unedited?
Yep, I love it.
Yes, I love him. There's nothing wrong with him. Nothing wrong with him. But I do feel like I got into the head knowledge because of his videos. So
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
but I nothing against him. I do like his videos and they've helped me a lot. But anyways, I just went down that path a little bit and then started arguing with my husband a lot. But I finally came full circle and now I'm back to understanding the grace and not legalism. I kind of went into legalism a little bit because I didn't understand. I wasn't fully there, but I think he knows that I was ignorant and I was trying. But yeah, that's basically that's how I was led there. And it was just amazing because I have a journal actually of before I even came to Torah, and I would write down things I noticed that he would do so I wouldn't forget. And and now I just look back and I see how he was moving in my life even before Torah and the things that he would do. I wrote down all my dreams, and now I just have dreams all the time. I wish they were sunshine and rainbows, like I said in that one comment, but they're not. They're kind of like kind of spooky, but like I know the difference between something that's a demon, and then him because he's not going to let you feel content. He's constantly pushing you.
I
Constantly.
find that the quality, and I've been dreaming a lot too.
Mhm.
And I find that the quality is different. It's kind of like there's something like soupy and murky when it's from the enemy, and when it's from him, it's just very light and buoyant. And even if it's not positive necessarily, because it's sometimes the truth is intense, I
Yeah.
also can
It's
you
a healthy dose of fear. That's kind of what I get from it. And it's not demonic. And like I'll wake up and I'll be like, thank you, because I know even though that dream seems scary, he was warning me. And I get a lot of warnings, and I think that's normal in the beginning of your walk. And that makes me feel loved because he loves me enough to warn me of things. And there's things that I struggle with, and like I just had dreams to reach out to other people, and I haven't like I said, I've struggled with that verse where it talks about like when you try to be quiet and shut up, it's like you feel like you're gonna go crazy. And that's what I've been doing constantly around people, and I don't want to do that anymore. So I haven't so I've started to reach out to people more, and like I had a dream about my sister-in-law and I reached out to her, and I didn't bring up the Torah, but I knew I was supposed to message her, and she was going through a bad time. So like he uses us to help other people, and hopefully we can lead them eventually there. But yeah, I have dreams all the time. It's like almost every night. And I think it's beautiful because that means he loves us and he warns us. If it was like, you don't ever want to be content with where you are, you want to constantly be growing. You have that peace, of course, and love of him, but you should always have, never be like complacent, I guess. And he should always, keep pushing you. But yeah, that's where I am today.
Hey, good job. Thank you
Thank
so much, Celeste. I am fascinated by you. I'm so happy that we got to speak, and I feel like I didn't know any of this. I didn't know anything about you at
you.
all.
Same here.
Is really what I like. This is one of the I'm called to do these testimonies with people, and there's part of it that is a personal thing for me because I'm just curious about people and other women on a similar path. So it does fulfill me in a certain just personal way, but I know that it's for other people who are going to watch this and potentially somebody who's on the spectrum or something. And I had no idea. When I go into a testimony with somebody, I don't know what nuggets are going to come out that makes that individual, yeah, we're all on the Torah path, whatever, fine, we all made it here, but who have you been your whole life, and what have you experienced that made you who you are. And I'm so happy that you shared every detail that you shared. I think that is going to bless many people. Thank you so much, Celeste.
Of course. Um, I would hope to find someone else that has similar struggles and just see how they, because when I try to look up people with autism in the Bible, it's like you don't get very good. It's always like they're always atheists or something. And I've never been able to find
Oh,
anyone kind
did
of
you,
like me,
I don't
you know.
know if I don't know if I recommend it necessarily for various reasons, but have you watched the TV show The Chosen?
Yes, I have. And that Matthew, yeah, he's on there. And so, yeah, that
So
I,
they elaborated and they added at the same time, could Matthew have been autistic?
yeah,
Yeah, probably. To have the qualities and to have been able to accomplish what he did, and we know obviously that in 2025 there are way more people are autistic for XYZ reasons with
yeah,
whatever is causing neurodivergence. Like we just know there are
mhm,
more autistic people now, and it's not because there are more diagnoses, it's because there's more
yeah,
more people that are. So
yeah. And I'd be interested to find anyone that's following Torah with children with autism because that's a whole nother battle. So I would love to find someone just to see how they incorporate that in their life because you get a lot of struggles with having, which of course I love my son, but it's harder. You have to parent differently in some ways. So, but yeah, that's why, I wanted to do this video because maybe someone could see it and be able to relate and also have the confidence to, just because you have maybe like a disability, quote unquote, you can still, he will still use you. And it doesn't even have to be a bad thing. It could be a beautiful thing that he blesses you with. But you have to figure out how to get through those afflictions. But through those afflictions, you become closer to him. So, but yeah,
you're so blessed. Thank you so much, Celeste. Thank you for everything, and have a great day when the kids wake up. I hope you have a
have
have
a
a
great
Shabbat. Thank you so much.
you
Take good care.
too.